Hello everyone. Since last few days, Mundra port is in the news because of India's biggest seizures. The DRI has seized from Mundra airport large amount of almost 3,000 kgs of heroin has been seized by DRI coming from Iran via through Afghanistan. Obviously, Afghanistan is the biggest player in selling and producing heroin in the world. So to discuss every aspect of this seizure, how big India as a market is, and why Indian agencies are now worried about the consignments through containers, because this is it has been they are sending the containers drugs through containers since last 1 year, and there have been multiple instances also. To discuss everything, we have one of the longest serving former DRI chief, Najib Shah. Also, he has served as revenue officer for last 37 years. He has served at various positions, including chairman, CBEC, head, excise and customs. And he also headed DRI for almost 4 years, involved in various seizures, important cases, and everything. So discuss everything without wasting any time. Let me start, sir. Why do you think that, the obvious question is why smugglers, knowing everything that India is already, Indian agencies are already on high alert, still they sent such big amount of seizure, big amount of heroin to India, costing, somewhere around 20,000 as per the reports.
Thank you for having me, Ankur, in this show. Yes, the stakes are extremely high. We are now talking of one of the biggest seizures by far by Indian enforcement agencies, and should rank among the biggest in the world, coming in through Iran from Afghanistan. Now, India has been a market for some time. India initially was always only a transit point through which to deflect attention of other countries. Goods used to be routed through India. So we have a combination of factors which makes India a favorite destination. One, because it could be used as a transit point for onward movement of goods to other destinations. Because if the goods are coming from India, then they attract lesser attention. And two, because also there is a market in India. I don't know whether you're aware of a survey done by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment in 2018 regarding the levels of addictions of various addictives. And they have estimated that more than 2.01% of the population of India is addicted to opioids. And this is apart from cannabis and drugs and other sort of liquor. We're talking of other than that. We're only talking of opium and opium products, which is heroin, brown sugar, charas. So India is a market, and but not as big as market as the Western markets are. Most of the produce from Afghanistan, which is by far the largest producer of opium, goes via the Balkan states, via Tajikistan towards Western Europe and onwards towards US and other countries. A small portion of what they produce comes towards India.
So there is also a change in trend. Basically, earlier they used to send opium, heroin, cocaine through land, or maybe sometimes through air. Now they have started using waterways more extensively, aggressively. Now they are sending drugs through containers, where through which they can send drugs at a higher quantity, tons and hundreds of kgs. So do you think that this poses the biggest challenge for Indian agencies, because in last 1 year, almost seven such seizures have been taken place, including from the places like Mumbai port, Cochin, Tuticorin, Lakshadweep, and now Gujrat port?
Yes, sir. The land border continues to be a favorite border. Last year, the BSF have seized more than 500 kg of smuggled through the border. I appreciate the fact that Pakistan has a lot of distillation labs of heroin dotting across that border. And once it reaches into Pakistan, it makes its way to the Indian land border. The sea route is far more dangerous for India. Like you rightly mentioned, the quantities are much more. The number of containers coming into India are huge. They run into a couple of millions. And that, unless you have very specific intelligence, it's going to be very, very difficult to detect a concealment in a container. The seizures which you have made were all the result of outstanding analysis of data, and the seizures made in concealment in log timber, between talc powder, which has legitimate uses. Talc powder has legitimate uses. It's required in industry. It's required in the few
Yes,
industries.
since
So
since
it
since
comes in
sir,
concealed in that.
yes, sir. So in this particular case, there are two types of ways of getting drugs to India. One is illegal trade, and another is misdeclaration. In this particular case, where DRI has seized 3,000 crores, 3,000 kgs of drugs from Mundra airport. So do you think that misdeclaration would be the biggest challenge, because there are thousands of containers coming to Indian ports, and every containers cannot be checked?
Absolutely. When I say the smuggling and is being done through the sea route, I'm only talking of misdeclaration. Misdeclaration leading to seizure is smuggling as per the Customs Act. So I'm only talking of smuggling through the container route by misdeclaring. You declare it as a legitimate item, and thereafter you conceal the drugs within that legitimate item. Now it becomes very easy for the customs authority. Last count we had around 4 million containers. Examining very, very challenging. What the enforcement agencies, customs has done along is to put scanners. Most of the major ports, Kandla has scanners. The problem of scanners is that again you can't scan all the containers. You will see that, which some red flags in terms of data analysis. And there is a trade also from other right? So that becomes the challenge. Do we all containers which is the truth of the route? So it is the and other enforcement, and it involves constant flags, constantly, and having a misses. That's the only way you learn.
Yes, sir. So there is also several. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. So there are also various figures which have been floating in media. Initially, the total amount of consignment, the report said that it was almost 2,000 crores of rupees. Now it was further went up to 8,000 crores, then 15,000 crores, and now it has somewhere around 20,000 crores, which is media report says. So, sir, how any agency, any intelligence agency or investigating agency calculate the amount of the seizure which they have done? What is the maths and rationale behind this?
Look, the ideal way to highlight a seizure is by quantity, because depending upon the destination, the value differs dramatically. If it is seized in Afghanistan itself, obviously it's going to be X. And as it keeps progressing from Afghanistan, depending upon the distance and the risks and the market and the demand, it keeps multiplying. So if the agencies have now given you a figure, it only means it is their estimate of what the value of the drugs will be if it hits the streets, right? And the streets could be the streets of India. And if you want to talk of streets of New York, it could be 3 times more again. So please go by the quantity and not so much by the values. The values are only for the journalists.
Okay. So, another aspect is, obviously, if there is some, if there is a seller, there is a buyer also. Do you think that, the arrest made by DRI, I'm sure you would be agree that they are not the actual receivers. Receivers and handlers must be, somewhere sitting. I don't know. Must be investigation will reveal that. But to order such amount of drugs and taking it to India, do you think that some international global racket is involved in this?
I don't know, Ankur. It is pure speculation now, and I would not like to speculate. Let us leave it to the investigative agencies. Suffice it to say that yes, obviously there's a supplier and there's a buyer, and there are a lot of essential cogs in the entire chain, all of whom are necessary for the transaction to take place, for the smuggling to take place. Without a landing agent, without a person willing to give his name as the legitimate importer, this contraband cannot move. And whether it is for India itself is a matter of speculation, like I told you, because India also is a transit route for various countries only because it deflects suspicion. So I think, yes, what you're suggesting is correct, that there are lots of other people in the play. Let us leave it to the investigation and hope that they're able to reach the main culprits in this entire episode.
Right, sir. Sir, one more aspect, everybody is saying that now the government has changed in Afghanistan. Taliban is directly involved in, producing and selling drugs to the world. 80% of opium comes from Afghanistan. So, do you think that in coming future, let's say, in coming 6 months or so, drugs supply would be increasing multiple folds, and also that will be a major challenge for as well as border guarding agencies and also intelligence agencies.
I think so. You see, remember again, opium grows very easily in Afghanistan. The conditions there, it requires drought-like conditions, little coldish weather. It is there in Afghanistan, and opium grows wild. Out of the 34 provinces in Afghanistan, 22 provinces are opium-producing provinces. So there is a huge amount of opium which grows. It grows to the extent of around 6,000 odd tons, which grows there annually. It contributes, drug money contributes nearly 6 to 12% to Afghanistan's GDP. Now, what has happened now, post the Taliban taking over, the IMF and the US have frozen all revenues of Afghanistan. The IMF was to release SDRs to them, they have not released it. The Central Bank of Afghanistan had kept money in the Federal Reserve of New York. All that money has been frozen. We are now creating a situation, in my opinion, where these guys are bound to resort to smuggling, which is the easiest thing of opium for them. And it means they're going to be desperate. They're going to try to push so much. And remember, the supply is an indication of a large market being available. And again, as per the UNODC, the Western Europe has a huge market for these drugs. So we're talking of nearly 34 million people going around the world who are addicted to heroin, which is the extract from opium. So yes, you have got a market, you have a supply, you have desperation on the part of Taliban, who are never very ethical about these matters. They've always been using drug money for various purposes. The agencies have their work cut out to ensure that we stop these goods from entering the country. But we have created an environment and a situation where these guys are bound to be resorting to this.
Certainly. So we are now ending this session. Obviously, I hope that our viewers, must have got a lot of information, racket, business, amount, everything. So now we are wrapping it up. Soon we'll be coming again with another session of, chat. Thanks, sir. Thanks a lot for joining us, and take care, sir.
Thank you very much. Same to you, Ankur. Take care.